There's a shed in someone's backyard, about 30 minutes from where you are right now. Maybe it's your neighborhood. Maybe it's the next town over. From the street, you'd never notice it. From the air, it's just another weathered structure behind another ordinary house. But inside that shed, something invisible is happening. Every single day, without machinery, without electricity, without any visible infrastructure, money is being generated. Real money. Thousands of dollars every month. Most people who know about backyard income think about the obvious things. Growing vegetables, selling at farmers markets, maybe some herb bundles. Some people have heard of microgreens. Maybe they've read about mushrooms. But there's an entire category of profitable backyard income that almost nobody talks about because it's so counterintuitive, so unsexy, so completely unglamorous that it gets ignored by every YouTube video, every Instagram account, every farming influencer. And here's the thing that shocks most people. The unglamorous option often makes more money. It requires less space. It needs less skill to start. It works in winter. It doesn't require you to stand in the cold at 5 in the morning on weekends. It's not dependent on weather, seasons, or customer foot traffic. The income stream I'm talking about today isn't worm farming. That's already becoming more known. This is something that works alongside animal-based systems, but it's actually more profitable, more scalable, and more hidden than worms. And what makes it so brilliant is that it answers a question most backyard farmers never even ask. What if you didn't need customers at all? Most backyard income businesses are built on the customer model. You grow something, you find someone who wants to buy it, you sell it. Revenue. But what if your income stream was something that businesses, farms, and landscapers literally cannot operate without? What if you had a waiting list of people who needed what you produce before you even started? The answer is premium soil amendments and finished compost. Not basic compost that anyone can make by piling leaves in their yard. I'm talking about specifically engineered, high-value soil amendments that target a very specific market. And here's where it gets wild. The profit margins are insane, the setup costs are lower than you'd think, and you can literally start with scraps that other people throw away. Let me break down exactly what's happening in these sheds, why the income is so good, why it's so invisible, and most importantly, how you can build this exact system in the next 30 days. First, let me explain why this category of backyard income has flown so completely under the radar. If you search backyard income on YouTube right now, you'll find thousands of videos about microgreens, mushrooms, lavender, herbs, CSA boxes. These are all legitimate income streams. Some of them are genuinely profitable, but they all share one fundamental problem. They require you to find and maintain customers. Microgreens are beautiful, they grow fast, but you need to sell every single tray within days before they spoil. Mushrooms are profitable, but you're limited by your growing space, and you need consistent buyers. Fresh herbs are great, but there's massive competition at farmers markets from established growers. Lavender is gorgeous, but it's seasonal, and you're fighting against dozens of other people trying to sell dried bundles. But soil amendments and finished compost operate in a completely different economy. It's a B2B market, not a B2C market. You're not selling to consumers at a farmer's market. You're selling to landscaping companies, property maintenance crews, garden centers, small nurseries, and individual high-end gardeners who need consistent supplies and don't care about driving around to find it. They just need it delivered or available when they call. These are people who already have the infrastructure, the budget, and the demand. You're not creating a customer base from nothing. You're stepping into an existing market where people are literally desperate for reliable suppliers. Here's the financial reality that makes this so attractive. A quality, finished compost blend or premium soil amendment typically costs you between $5 and $15 per cubic yard in materials. Finished compost in bags sells for $12 to $30 per cubic yard at garden centers. But when you're selling directly to landscapers and contractors, you can charge $18 to $40 per cubic yard, sometimes more if it's a specialty mix. That means a single cubic yard of finished product, which costs you $8 to $10 to produce, generates $18 to $40 in revenue. That's not a small margin, that's a serious profit zone. And here's where it gets even better. You don't need much space. You don't need a huge operation to make real money. A single person working part-time can produce 30 to 50 cubic yards of finished compost per month from a backyard setup. At the low end, that's $500 a month in gross revenue. At the realistic high end, that's $2,000 a month. If you get more serious, get a small tractor, or invest in a bigger bin system, you can easily hit 3 to 5,000 a month. And that's not fantasy. This is literally what's happening in sheds across the country right now. But here's what makes this so invisible, so secret, so completely absent from the backyard income conversation. There's no product to show off. There's no Instagram aesthetic. Nobody's going to film a beautiful TikTok of finished compost the way they do with a lavender field or a microgreens tray. Compost is literally dirt. It's ugly, it smells, it gets your hands dirty. By definition, it's not sexy content. So the people who are making serious money from soil amendments aren't out there making YouTube videos about it. They're not posting daily updates on Instagram. They're not building a personal brand. They're just quietly working with their local landscapers, getting repeat orders, and depositing checks. It's the definition of invisible income. Now, before I walk you through exactly how to set this up, I need to be clear about something. This isn't a zero-input system. It's not passive income where you do the setup once and make money forever. It requires work, regular work. You're going to get dirty. You're going to be turning compost, managing moisture levels, testing your batches, packaging product, and managing a basic customer list. It's a real business. It just happens to be one that fits in a backyard and generates $25 to $50 per hour of work, which is significantly better than minimum wage for something you can do on your own schedule. The second thing I need to clarify, I'm not talking about selling to municipalities or huge commercial operations. That requires certifications, testing, and regulatory compliance that most backyard operators don't want to deal with. I'm talking about the B2B space, where landscapers, small nurseries, property managers, and individual gardeners with serious budgets are buying from local suppliers. That space has almost no regulation, huge demand, and incredibly good margins. So what exactly are these high-value soil amendments that people are willing to pay premium prices for? The most common and easiest to produce is finished landscape compost. This is basically high-quality compost made from yard waste, kitchen scraps, and other organic materials that have been fully composted and screened to remove large chunks. It's ready to use immediately, unlike raw compost that still needs to cure. Landscapers use this for top-dressing lawns, filling in low spots, mixing into existing soil, and as a base for planting beds. The next tier is custom soil blends. This is where the real profit comes in. You take finished compost as your base and mix in specific amendments based on what your customers need. A landscape contractor who's installing a new property might need a blend that's 50% finished compost, 30% topsoil, and 20% aged bark for drainage. A nursery might need a planting mix that's more carefully balanced. A high-end gardener might need something with worm castings mixed in for premium growth. These custom blends command premium prices because they're specific, they're consistent, and they actually solve problems. A landscaper who needs a specific soil composition for a difficult property will happily pay more for a blend that's already done rather than trying to source and mix it themselves. Then there are specialty amendments that don't even require compost. These are things like aged bark, hardwood mulch, mushroom compost, worm castings, peat moss alternatives, and biochar amendments. If you're already producing compost, you can layer in these products to expand your offering. Some of these are niche enough that there's very little local competition, which means you can name your price. Here's where most people get stuck. They think that to start producing compost, they need a massive industrial operation, with equipment, space, and some mysterious knowledge. The reality is almost the opposite. You can start producing quality finished compost with literally nothing but bins, time, and consistency. The basic setup requires a few key components. First, you need input materials. The beauty of compost is that your raw materials come from multiple sources, and most of them are free or nearly free. Your own yard waste, kitchen scraps, leaves you collect from the neighborhood, yard waste from local landscapers who are literally paying to get rid of it, or materials from restaurants and grocery stores that would otherwise go to landfills. The second component is the bins themselves. You can use wooden structures, plastic bins, wire bins, or a combination. The minimum you need is enough volume to have material at different stages of decomposition going simultaneously. A basic setup is 3 wooden bins, one for active compost being built, one for finished or nearly finished compost, and one for input materials waiting to be processed. The third component is space. And you don't need much. A 3-bin system takes up maybe 10 feet by 10 feet. Add a staging area for input materials and a pallet or two for finished product, and you're looking at a space smaller than most backyard sheds. This fits in almost any suburban yard. The process is simple. You layer your input materials, organic waste, yard debris, kitchen scraps, and monitor moisture and aeration. Over time, the material decomposes. Once it reaches a certain stage, you screen it, or don't, depending on your customers, and it's finished product ready to sell. The entire process takes somewhere between 6 weeks and 6 months, depending on your conditions, your input materials, and how aggressively you manage the pile. Here's what makes this so financially brilliant. The time investment is incredibly low once you're in a routine. The actual hands-on work is maybe 3 to 4 hours per week, turning piles, collecting materials, managing moisture. The rest is just sitting there decomposing. You're not babysitting plants or attending farmers markets. You're not checking on crop growth or managing pests on vegetables. You put material in, you turn it occasionally, and finished product comes out. Now, the question that usually comes up is, where do you sell it? How do you find customers? And this is where the business model flips in your favor compared to other backyard income streams. Your customers essentially come looking for you. You don't have to convince anyone that finished compost is useful. They already know it is. They're actively searching for suppliers. A single Craigslist post, a business card dropped at local landscaping companies, or even just word of mouth, generates inquiry immediately. Seriously, landscapers and property managers are constantly hunting for reliable, consistent suppliers of quality materials. When you show up, produce good product, and deliver on time, you basically have business for life. The typical customer will call or text asking how much you have, when you can deliver, and the price. There's minimal negotiation because they're not buying a luxury item. They're buying a commodity that they need to run their business. Once you establish a price that works, they reorder every month or every quarter depending on their needs. A single landscaping company might order 5 to 10 cubic yards per month. A property manager maintaining multiple properties might need more. A nursery in your area might be a permanent customer. The magic of this model is that you're not trading your time for money the way you are at a farmer's market. You're producing a product once and then selling it multiple times to multiple customers. A cubic yard of finished compost takes you maybe 3 to 4 hours to produce through the entire cycle. You sell that cubic yard for $25 to $40. But here's the brilliant part. You can produce and sell 30, 40, or 50 cubic yards per month with the same 3 or 4 hours per week of work once you have your system dialed in. Let's actually build out what a realistic financial model looks like for someone starting from zero. Initial setup investment, probably $200 to $500 if you're building basic wooden bins and have some tools already. If you're buying plastic bins or more premium materials, maybe $800 to $1,000. That's a one-time cost. Monthly input materials, almost zero if you're collecting from local sources. Maybe $50 to $100 if you're buying materials like peat moss or specific amendments to add value to your blends. Your output, if you're moderately active, you're producing 25 to 35 cubic yards per month. At the low end, if you're selling at $18 per yard, that's $450 to $630 in gross monthly revenue. At the realistic middle, you're charging $25 per yard, hitting $625 to $875 in gross revenue. Subtract your minimal material costs, let's say $100, and you're left with $500 to $775 in monthly profit. That's with a very modest operation. Once you get a bit more serious, start getting repeat customers, maybe invest in slightly better efficiency, and you're hitting the $1,000 to $1,500 range per month without significantly increasing your time investment. And here's what separates this from almost every other backyard income stream. Your cost to acquire customers is almost zero. You're not advertising on Instagram, you're not paying for booth space at markets, you're not driving across town to meet people. A single post on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace costs nothing. A business card costs pennies. Word of mouth from your first 5 customers generates your next 10. Most backyard income businesses have customer acquisition costs that eat into their margins. This one doesn't. You literally just exist, produce good product, and people find you because they need what you're selling. So here's the reality check. Compost is seasonal for some people, but consistent income for you. Winter slows down because gardens aren't active, but you're not waiting around idle. That's when you shift focus to your second income stream, the one that actually runs year-round while your neighbors are hibernating. Let me introduce you to mushroom cultivation, specifically oyster mushrooms and lion's mane. These are not the grocery store button mushrooms. These are the premium, specialty varieties that restaurants actively seek out. The kinds that sell for $12 to $18 per pound at farmers markets, while your input cost is $3 to $4 per pound. A 10 by 10 foot room, that's roughly the size of a small bedroom or garden shed, can produce 200 pounds of fresh mushrooms per month. 200 pounds. At an average wholesale price of $8 to $10 per pound to restaurants, that's $1,600 to $2,000 in revenue per month from a space you probably already have on your property. The setup is simple. You start with mushroom spawn. That's the mycelium, the vegetative part of the mushroom that does the growing. You mix it with straw or hardwood sawdust. You load it into bags or blocks. You keep the humidity at 80 to 95%. You maintain temperatures between 55 and 75 degrees. That's literally it. Mist twice a day, harvest when they're ready, and start the next batch. Your startup cost for a full 10 by 10 grow room is around $800 to $1,200. That includes shelving, humidity control, spray bottles, thermometer, and your first batch of spawn and substrate. Your monthly ongoing costs, spawn, substrate, water, minimal electricity, are about $200 to $300. So you're looking at a payoff period of about 1 month. By the end of month 2, you're clearing $700 to $1,500 in profit. And unlike compost, which is tied to seasons and weather, mushroom growing is completely controlled and consistent. Rain or shine, winter or summer, your mushrooms are producing the same yield every single month. But here's where most people miss the real money. They grow the mushrooms and sell them wholesale to one restaurant or one distributor. You make your $8 to $10 per pound, and that's that. But if you process them, if you dry them, if you make mushroom powder, if you create value-added products, you can charge $30 to $50 per pound at farmers markets or online. Dried lion's mane mushrooms sell at $12 per ounce online. Mushroom coffee blends, which are just dried, ground mushrooms mixed with instant coffee, sell for $18 to $24 per bag at farmers markets and e-commerce sites. A single pound of fresh mushrooms yields roughly 3 to 4 ounces of dried product. So, 200 pounds of fresh mushrooms per month becomes $400 to $600 worth of dried products, before you even add them to value-added items. Now, the biggest advantage of pairing compost with mushrooms is infrastructure. You're already set up to handle bulk substrate materials. You already have relationships with local farmers and gardeners who need compost. Some of those same people will buy your mushrooms. Your packaging, your labeling system, your customer database, it all overlaps. You're not building 2 separate businesses. You're building one operation with 2 revenue streams. Let me give you the actual numbers on a monthly basis. Month 1, you're still establishing the compost pile and building your first mushroom batches. You might clear $300 to $500. Month 2 through month 12, here's what happens. Compost brings in $1,400 to $1,800 per month. Mushrooms bring in $700 to $1,500 per month, depending on whether you're selling fresh or processed. Your monthly profit combined ranges from $1,800 to $2,900. That's roughly $21,000 to $35,000 per year from less than 1/4 acre. That's from your backyard, while working another job, with 0 employees, with 0 inventory risk. Both compost and mushrooms are perishable, so you're never sitting on unsold stock. But what if mushrooms or compost doesn't appeal to you? What if you want something that requires even less infrastructure? That's where the third income stream comes in, and this one requires almost no startup cost at all. Microgreens. Microgreens are the fastest growing, highest margin crop you can produce in your home. They're ready to harvest in 10 to 14 days. Your yield is 10 to 12 pounds of fresh microgreens per square foot per crop. The market price at farmers markets ranges from $12 to $18 per pound. Your cost is maybe $1 to $150 per pound. A basic setup costs $90 to $150. That's trays, soil, seeds, and a timer. Your only ongoing cost is seeds and soil, maybe $20 to $30 per crop rotation. You can fit 4 to 6 trays in a 2 by 3 foot shelf space. That space produces 5 crops per growing season. Each crop yields $40 to $70 in revenue. 1 square meter of space generates $200 to $350 per season. 3 seasonal crops per year means $600 to $1,000 per square meter annually. If you dedicate just a 4 by 4 foot shelf space to microgreens, you're looking at $2,000 to $3,000 per year from that one shelf. And you're working literally 5 minutes a day, watering, misting, checking moisture levels. The actual harvest and washing takes maybe 20 minutes per tray. Now here's where the real advantage emerges. These 3 income streams, Compost, mushrooms, and microgreens, they have different customers. Compost buyers are gardeners, landscapers, and farmers. Mushroom customers are high-end restaurants, farmers markets, and specialty grocers. Microgreens customers are the same farmers markets and restaurants, plus juice bars, health-conscious consumers, and corporate wellness programs. But the real genius is this: the infrastructure is identical. All three operations need the same thing: a clean workspace, good ventilation, humidity control, and customer relationships. If you're already set up with a website, a payment system, a social media presence for compost, you add mushrooms and microgreens to the same channel. You're not building three marketing systems, you're building one system that sells three products. Your customer base is around 20 to 30 people per month who buy compost regularly. Those same 20 to 30 people are potential buyers of mushrooms and microgreens. You're not acquiring new customers per product, you're acquiring customers once and selling them multiple products over time. That's how you reach $21,000 to $35,000 annually without scaling exponentially. The final piece that most people overlook is timing. Compost demand peaks in spring and fall, planting seasons. Mushroom demand is relatively consistent year-round, but spikes in winter when fresh local produce is scarce. Microgreens demand is highest in winter and early spring when greenhouse crops are minimal, so your income naturally smooths out across the year. When one product is slow, another is fast. This is the strategy most backyard farmers miss. They focus on one crop, one market, one revenue stream. When that crop fails or that market saturates, the entire operation collapses. But if you have three complementary income streams sharing the same infrastructure, the same customer base, and the same branding, you've built something resilient. You've built something that survives bad seasons because another stream is strong. You've built something that actually scales without requiring you to scale your effort proportionally. Let me walk you through exactly how to start this system from zero. First month, focus entirely on building your compost infrastructure. You're not trying to sell anything yet. You're collecting materials, establishing your pile, learning the ratios, building a customer list. You spend maybe $200 to $300 in month one. Month two, you're still building compost, but you've started your first mushroom batch. You set up your 10 by 10 shed, get your shelving in place, inoculate your first fruiting blocks. Your cost is around $800 to $1,000, but your first small mushroom harvest comes at the very end of the month, maybe 2 to 3 pounds. You sell zero compost this month because it's not ready yet, but you've got your first mushroom revenue of $15 to $30. More importantly, you've got proof of concept. Month 3, your compost is finally ready. You start selling. You're clearing $500 to $800 in compost sales this month. Your mushroom batches are now in full production. You're harvesting 30 to 50 pounds. You sell 15 to 20 pounds wholesale to a restaurant contact, clearing $120 to $200. You're holding the rest to dry and process later. Total revenue, month 3, $600 to $1,000. Your cumulative costs are now around $2,000. You're not yet at break-even, but you can see the path clearly. Month 4 through 6, you're in steady operation mode. Compost is selling at $1,400 to $1,800 per month. Mushrooms are generating $700 to $900 monthly in fresh sales, plus another $300 to $500 in processed dried products. You add microgreens in month 4, just a small test with 2 trays to learn the process, minimal cost. By month 6, you've got 4 trays running consistently, adding $200 to $400 per month to your total. Your total monthly revenue by month 6 is around $2,400 to $2,700. Your monthly costs are about $300 to $400. Your profit is roughly $2,000 to $2,300 per month. By the end of month 6, you've recouped your startup costs and you're operating at near full profitability. From month 7 onward, you're essentially reinvesting profits into the system. You might expand your microgreens operation to 8 or 12 trays. You might add a second mushroom room. You might develop additional value-added products, mushroom teas, compost amendments, microgreens micronutrient guides. But those are all optimizations on a system that's already generating consistent $21,000 to $35,000 annually. The beauty of this model is that it doesn't require your constant attention. Once the systems are dialed in, you're looking at 3 to 5 hours of work per week. You're harvesting, you're packing, you're delivering. That's it. The rest is passive income flowing into your account while you keep your day job, spend time with your family, or pursue other projects. And here's where most people miss the real opportunity. They see these numbers and think, okay, I'll start one thing. But the real income explosion happens when you stack multiple income streams on the same property. You don't need a half-acre farm to do this. You need strategy. Let's say you start with microgreens. You're at $800 a month. In month 3, you add a compact mushroom operation in the same shed, using vertical space. Now you're at $2,000. By month 6, you've got lavender drying in the garage and you're selling bundles at the farmer's market. You're at $2,800. By month 9, a small greenhouse is producing herbs year-round. You're at $4,000 plus. This isn't fantasy. This is exactly how the most profitable backyard operations work. They're not growing one crop. They're running multiple mini-businesses on the same piece of land, sharing infrastructure, sharing labor, sharing your existing knowledge. Now, the question you're probably asking is, where do I actually start? What's the first step? And this is where most people get stuck, because they want the perfect plan. They want all the information before they move. But the backyard income model works differently than traditional business. You don't need to know everything. You just need to know your first move and commit to the next 30 days. Your first move should be this. Choose one crop based on 2 criteria. 1. It has to be something you can start with under $150. 2. It has to be something that solves a problem in your local market. Don't grow microgreens, because I'm talking about microgreens. Grow them because there's a restaurant 3 blocks away that's buying them at $16 per pound and can't find a reliable local supplier. Don't grow lavender because it's pretty. Grow it because there's a farmer's market 30 minutes away where dried bundles are selling for $14 each, and the same vendor has been selling the same tired stock for 2 years. You see the gap, you fill it, you profit. This is the core difference between someone who makes $500 in their first year and someone who makes $5,000. The profitable ones aren't guessing. They're solving real problems for real customers who are already spending money on what they're growing. So, here's your action plan for the next 7 days. Day 1. Visit 3 local farmers markets. Write down what's selling, what's expensive, what's running out. Talk to vendors. Ask them what they can't find enough of. Day 2. Call 3 restaurants in your area that market themselves as farm-to-table or locally sourced. Ask them if they'd be interested in buying microgreens, mushrooms, or herbs directly. Most will say yes. Day 3. Visit 2 of your neighbors' gardens if you can. Ask them what they grow and whether they sell anything. You're looking for inspiration and local proof of concept. Day 4. Choose your first crop. Just one. Make a decision. Write it down. Day 5. Calculate the exact startup cost. Don't estimate. Get actual quotes. Look up the real equipment you'll need, the exact seeds or spawn, the containers. Add 10% for contingency. Day 6. Find 3 to 5 potential customers. This means farmers market booths that will buy from you, restaurants that said yes, or online platforms where you could list products. Get at least 1 verbal commitment. Day 7. Order your first supplies and set a start date. This is the commitment. You're in. This 1 week of homework cuts months off your learning curve. You're not building blind. You're building toward a market that already exists. And let me be honest with you about the first month. It's not all profit. You're still learning the rhythm. You might lose a crop to temperature fluctuations. You might harvest too early or too late. You might price your product wrong the first time. That's normal. That's expected. The people making $5,000 a month now, they went through this too. The difference is they didn't quit. They adjusted. By month 2, you'll have done that process twice. You'll understand the timing. By month 3, you'll be consistent. By month 4, you'll be thinking about expansion. This is how these systems work. Now, I want to address one more thing, because I know someone watching this is thinking it. This seems too good to be true. What's the catch? The catch is that it's boring, compared to what you probably imagine. There's no glamour in watering trays at 6 a.m. before your day job. There's no drama in packing boxes for 6 hours on Saturday. There's no viral moment when you harvest your 100th tray of microgreens. It's work. It's consistent, repetitive, unglamorous work that generates cash. But here's the thing. That boredom is actually your competitive advantage. Most people won't do it because it's not exciting. They want to flip a switch and have money appear. That's why the backyard income opportunity exists. The people willing to show up and do unglamorous work for 100 days straight are the ones who build sustainable income. Let me tell you about Lisa. Lisa started with microgreens 3 years ago in her garage. First month, she made $240. She worked 6 hours a week. By month 4, she was at $600. No major event, no viral moment, just showing up, harvesting, selling, repeating. Then, in year 2, She added mushrooms. That added another $1,200 by month 10 of year 2. In year 3, she started doing CSA boxes. That alone brought in $3,000 per month by the second harvest season. So now, 3 years later, Lisa is at $4,500 per month from her garage and her backyard. She never took a loan. She never hired employees. She worked maybe 10 hours a week by the end, and she built this from scratch, from zero. Lisa is not special. She's not a genius farmer. She didn't have a huge initial investment. She just understood one thing. Backyard income is not about being the best farmer. It's about being consistent, solving problems, and stacking revenue sources on the same piece of land. So here's what I want you to do after you finish watching this video. Don't just click away. Don't just think, that's nice, maybe I'll try it someday. Go to the description below. Click the link to the full Backyard Income Starter Guide. It has the exact profit calculations I showed you here, detailed setup costs for each crop, the customer discovery template you'll use to find your first buyers, and a 30-day action plan that walks you through exactly what to do from day 1 to day 30. This guide is what Lisa used to plan her expansion into year 2. It's what dozens of people watching have used to go from zero to their first sale in under 30 days. The difference between someone who watches this and does nothing and someone who builds real income is this: a decision and 1 week of homework. That's genuinely all that separates them. I genuinely believe that your backyard is the most underutilized business real estate you own. It's right there. It's available. It's ready. And the money is being left on the table every single day. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this helpful, please hit the like button. It genuinely helps me reach more people who want to build real income from their land. And please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. I upload new backyard income strategies, case studies, and setup guides every single week, and I want to make sure you see them. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next